just making a few marginal gains to my mic setup because it matters. Just thought I'd have a bit of a chat about the topic of marginal gains. You might have heard of it, been reading about it in this book, Black Box Thinking. In this section, well, the previous chapter actually, was going on about marginal gains and popularised by a guy called David Brailsford, who stepped in to Team Sky racing team, and the UK's cycling team, British cycling, and the UK's British cycling team couldn't win the Tour de France. You know, they just couldn't do it. And another part, they weren't winning on the track, you know, these indoor velodrome as well. So Dave Brailsford ended up applying this concept, the aggregation of marginal gains, and he ended up winning on the track, and then also started to win in the Tour de France. He, you know, not him personally, but the team. He managed this process. And the way he did it was the aggregation of marginal gains is about breaking down the whole thing, the whole problem, into many small components and making little subtle tweaks, maybe 1% in that area, 1% in that area. And the idea being, if you do little subtle tweaks across the board, when you put it all back together, it ends up being absolutely huge. Hang on, I've got a notification. It ends up being absolutely huge. Hey, how are you doing? Thank you for joining. So it ends up being absolutely huge, and this is how you can get real gains. And I was just thinking to myself this week, reading this is why I like reading, because you come up with new ideas. And I thought to myself, right, what am I trying to do in my life? And what am I trying to do in business and things? I thought, can I apply this concept of marginal gains? I mean, another story in here is about Formula One. And now Mercedes did this, you know, with Lewis Hamilton. I think it was, who was the other driver? Was it Nico Rosberg? I can't remember. It's in here anyway. And the way that they did it in Formula One, right? I think when Formula One first started, they used to collect data on about 8 data points, and then they turned that from 8 data points to absolutely thousands. So all these different data points, they could start to improve. And it was things like, one of the big areas that they did was looking at the pit stop. So when a car comes in, you know, change the tyre. And they put little sensors inside, you know, the nut runners that take the nut off, the gum. And they were measuring on the nut runner, they were measuring, like, if the guy was not putting it completely perpendicular, and let's say it was just an angle slightly off, it'd still take the nut off, but it was inefficient. And they was checking the angle, the time it took between the socket just touching the nut to getting fully on, the time between the nut on and starting the, you know, unlocking section, the spinning of the nut runner, how long it took to start freeing up the wheel, all these little metrics. And then they made subtle improvements. And you can do this yourself, like in your own life. It might be, I was thinking of applying it. So I've been doing this week with my business, like looking at little bits. And it's things like looking at a website landing page, right? Looking at maybe the conversion rate optimization, looking at the support, you know, what is the training videos like, all these little areas that you can make. And you might think, whoa, I'm going to give myself a lot to do here. If I go across it and end up with like 30 to-do items to improve, you think, flipping heck, that is a lot of work, you know, because I think when we want progress, we tend to want like the big game-changing move, you know, that one. We want to search for what is that one thing that's going to make the difference here. You know, it's like people ask me, how did you do that? What was it? What's that? What? And they're looking for that one thing. What is that one big thing that made all the difference? And it genuinely, usually isn't. It's usually a combination of all these little, you know, little bits. It usually is. It's like, well, it's no one thing. It's everything. It's like, you know, how do you, how, how do you, how do you get in shape, right? Or stay in shape. I'm not, you know, really in shape at the minute. I'm all right. I always stay good, and I find it easy to stay okay. So when you need to really tighten up, you know, when you go on a diet and you can really drop that body fat and get in amazing shape, it's very easy because it's easier to maintain. You might think, well, how did you do it? People think, are you going to gym all the time? Or what? You must be like really working out. Well, it's not. It's many, many small things. So if you think about it, it's what you choose for your breakfast, right? It's little subtle things like that when you're out and about. When I go into a restaurant, what am I choosing to eat? Right? When I train, am I training intelligently? Do I know where the areas I need to work on? It's like when I go in the gym and I watch people and they're fucking around doing useless exercises like fucking arm curls and stuff like this, and it's like, what are you doing? Stop training arms, train some compounds, right? Just do more of them. And so it's about all these little things: training intelligently, eating intelligently, sleeping intelligently, right? Thinking about it, thinking about a training split. You know, there's a mental side to it. It's not one thing, right? Same with business. There's no one. There might be, you know, you might, even if you happen to, because I've had this where you just like land a deal and it just completely changes your life. You might find that there are many things that have led up to that. When you create a business, there are so many little things that you have to do. I'm doing one at the minute with the new business, which is, well, both of them actually, starting new newsletters. Now, a newsletter campaign takes a long time to move forward, and there's lots of small actions with it. And it's one of them, if you don't start it, you'll never get the benefit. So you have to kind of start. And it's things like that that will eventually, one day, lead to that. When you get a result, it feels like it comes all at once, but it's not. It's usually because you put all these they're like little micro habits or whatever that you put in place, you know, and that's how you should look at it. Small micro habits. And so yeah, what I've been doing is like I've pulled a list of sort of 20 different areas where I can improve in my tech business, say. And these are not, the way to do this is not overhaul all 20 areas, because that will take you forever. You can't rebuild a company from scratch or rebuild your career from scratch. You're looking for a 1% gain. So on a landing page, rather than building the whole landing page, it might just be that the button colour's wrong and it's in the wrong place. It's not as prominent. Might need, you know, you might need a, if it's e-commerce, it'd be like straight to shop button, or if it's not, if it's like more of a service like my software business, you might have book a demo right at the very top. Don't put it at the bottom, put it at the top. You might just have to lift it, and that'd be a 1% improvement. Or you might have to change an image or change one colour. So we're not talking about overall in all these 20 things, little subtle improvements. And you know, another one would be like response times to book a demo, things like this. Can we tighten that up? Can we make it the next available half day or something like this? Right. No, that was just an apple. All apples are falling off the tree because it's autumn. Oh no, it was a bear. Anyway, you can apply this to your life as well. So like on the fitness thing and diet, when you're going around the shop and you're buying your your weekly shopping or your groceries, whatever you want to call it might just be that I'm just going to leave that chocolate bar this week. Just one thing off your shopping list. You don't have to completely overhaul it if you're not ready for a complete new diet, but you might just go, I'm just going to have less of that. Or I'm not going to get that bottle of wine or whatever, right? Or maybe I get one bottle of wine instead of two, or 8 instead of 10, whatever you get. So you're just going to slightly start to make little sort of improvements, right? And that's what it's about. So I have been doing that, and I think you can do it, right? An area you can do it in the journal. This is why I make these tools. We've got good place to start. You can go on the website. Got this categories of personal development, right? Life harmony model. Right, so is that in the picture? Yeah, it is. Right, so look at the life harmony model. It's got 7 areas of life. There's a description here, and you can go on the website and get this just on the screen. Or if you go onto my personal website, andyholt.co.uk, I think in the coaching bit, there's a diagram here, and it tells you what they're all for. So you've got physical, mindset, spiritual, relationships, financial, occupation, and lifestyle. And it's you score yourself from 0 to 100% where you think you are in all these areas. And your job, right, is to grow that. Now, trying to get 100% across the board is just unrealistic. And it's not normal. So you want to be shooting for about 60 to 80% in all areas. If you could get 60 to 80% in all areas, I think you'd be smashing it. And the fact that you're working on all areas will start to, it's like breaking it down into small parts and then building it back up. So the sum, the total becomes very powerful. The total is you, by the way. So you might make 1% improvements across the board, and that would be a good place to start. And there are certain things that like complement other areas. So I think working on your physical health, diet, and getting good sleep and things like that actually benefits your mindset, because I think you can't have a good mindset if you're tired all the time, because when you're tired, this is when the negative thoughts come in and things like this. So if you're not fresh, I don't think you can have a good mindset if you're tired all the time. So that benefits that. All these things tend to then benefit your occupational side, like your work and everything. And lifestyle comes as a result of doing well in your career. So if you were to make subtle improvements across the board, think about how powerful you could become. Think about how better your business would be. Right? There are some people in the careers or the business that still do well. There's many, say, famous musicians that are just so talented, and they've made multi-millions, lots of money. Famous musicians, but they smash drugs all the time, or smoke all the time, and drink always drinking, alcoholic. That does happen, right? But I bet if they were to quit those habits, they get even better. The person in business who maybe doesn't look after their health, workaholic, drinks all the time after work. You do get this, I've done it. Maybe if that person were to, even though they're doing well, right, maybe they're overweight or whatever, or just drinking every night after work, eating McDonald's or whatever. I don't want to shit on McDonald's. It's got a lot better. But maybe they're doing okay. Could they do even better if they were to cut them habits? or even just cut them by 1%. I think so. So, yeah, bit of a chat on marginal gains. Thanks for listening. All right, see you all next time.